Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys stopping by, taking a look at my video real quick. Follow my people in the Philippines, as always. Magandang umaga, maanyong buntag, naibag na bigat, masantos yakabusan. Let me see, Mayed na agahan? Yes, I think, yeah. That's true, okay. And I also have another one. I got a Bikol, Bikol. I'm not sure how you pronounce the language, but Marhe na aga. I think that's correct. If it's not correct, feel free to let me know. As always, you know, give me some little tweaking and stuff like that. You know, whatever you feel like. But I already know what you guys are thinking. This is like a little girl. It's like, man, you just beat up on this little girl. Like, what's going on? Like, you just, you know. But hey, no. Before you think I'm just a bully, this girl right here, down there, over in the corner, over there. At the time that I played her in 2017, she was a women's candidate master already. She was 12 years old though. But she was still very, very strong. She was like 1,800 and something FIDE. Like right at 1,900 or something. I'm not sure how she got her title, but yeah, she was fierce. I seen her beat some folks up. So, I mean, you know, that's definitely not the case. Just playing it's kind of like, you know, you have Rachel Lee down in, you know, in Texas, you know, who is like 2,200 and something. So she's already a national master and she's like 10. So yeah, I mean, don't sleep on these young cats. You know, these people were, you know, it's all these prodigies and stuff like that. I mean, you know, they come from everywhere. Anyways, yes, this was 2017. I had a lot more time on my hands in 2017, so I was playing a lot of chess. And these are the first times I was going to tournaments. So I ended up playing this game here. Now, I'm not going to be doing a lot of my own games. You know, I honestly feel like it's a little bit weird to kind of do my own analysis on my own game. Because I'm not like international master, grandmaster, world champion or nothing like that. So I kind of feel like who wants to see my stuff? So for those few of you that watch my video, appreciate it very much. Hopefully I do some good analysis for this game. But I'll be able to kind of give you guys my thought process behind everything. And kind of just the way that I felt. And I feel like you guys will see, but I feel like this is kind of like a tall like game. So yes. If you guys are ready to go, let's take a look. All right, so we got E4, E6. So we got the French defense. We got D4, D5. Knight comes to C3, knight to F6, bishop to G5. Now this is going to be like a very, very common way to play. You know, a lot of times instead of this, you might see like bishop B4, so like the winnower variation. You'll see the Rubinsteins. I played the Rubinstein myself as black. I just really didn't feel like having to worry about all the different theory. And the Rubinstein is very, very transposable. There's so many different scenarios that you can get into that are like transpose and stuff like that. So, you know, that's the reason why I liked playing the Rubinstein or whatever. But I played all kinds of stuff over the years. I played E4, D4. I feel like E4 is ultimately the best. But D4 is a lot easier to learn, in my opinion, than E4 is. So if you want to get pretty good pretty quick, or you maybe don't have a lot of time like me, I don't have all day every day, you know, to be studying chess. So, you know, I definitely went ahead and tried to do some D4 stuff. So we got, like I said, we had all of these moves. Bishop came to E7. We got E5, knight F to D7, and we have H4. So this is the French Chatard Alekhine variation. It's a very sound variation. I was told, I'll speak about him at the end, but there was a chess master that I played in some tournaments. You know, he was telling me, he's like, yeah, that's like kind of a line they don't really play anymore. Nah, I mean, when you look at the records and you look at, you know, like how good it is, even though you give up a pawn, you know, it's very sound. So don't mistake. Don't think it's you know, it's like a sideline or nothing. So bishop takes on G5. We got pawn takes G5, queen takes G5, knight comes to H3, queen back to E7, and we have queen to G4. And this is it's actually pretty good. We got G6, knight comes to G5. This is actually very, very good for white. You know, you have a lot of attack possibilities. You have a lot of weak points that you're hitting as white. So it's definitely up there. I mean, I see this when I play online. I mean, sometimes I'll play 2300s and stuff like that. I mean, on chess.com, and you see this, you know. So I've seen it pretty much just as high as you can go. So we got H5. And this is the point in the game that, you know, I kind of got out of my preparation at this moment because I had been Actually, I think I played this before, but it's not very many times. And so I think queen to d2, maybe queen back to d1 or queen to f3 is, well, not queen, no, because you have to hold on to the knight. So yeah, it doesn't make any. Maybe queen to g3. I don't know. But it was kind of a surprise to me to see h5. But so I went queen f4, just holding on to the knight, keeping a nice little central position with my queen. Got a6, castles by me. We have c5, and this is the novelty of the game. Even though, you know, we're not professional players, so I mean, we don't really do novelties like that. I mean, you know, I'm sure this game has been played before at some point, somewhere in the world. But yeah, so I got pawn takes c5, knight takes c5, and we have come to the point in the game where I want you to do two things. I want you to stop the video and see what is the best possible move in the position, and it's very killer. And also, try to guess what move I actually played, because I didn't play that move. So there's a killer move in the position, and then I played another move that's not really on the radar, but it's going to give you the idea of why I call this like a tall. Oh yeah, okay. So okay, I'm clear. Okay, this is the reason why I call this like a tall type game. So go ahead and pause the video and try to find the best move and the move that I made. Okay, so the best possible move in the position, and it's pretty monstrous. The computer is showing in this position that I have like a +5 advantage. So basically we're talking about an entire rook's worth of an advantage. And I thought it was, when I got back home and looked at it, I was like, that's insane. It's like, I missed that. I was like, I literally, the move didn't pop up in my head at all. And the move that the computer loves is rook takes d5. And you're probably thinking like, wow, that's crazy. You're just going to give the rook away? Yes. You know, Stockfish was like, hey, bro, just throw the rook away. Like, it's beautiful. So the way that the computer wants after this is pawn takes d5, knight takes d5, queen goes back to f8. You got bishop to c4, bishop to e6, and rook to d1. And this is supposed to be like horribly crazy, like mating and just like nasty. Like, I mean, I guess like you got like some checks here. You got the king moving up, and then you have some checkmates here, stuff like that. But I mean, even though you're down an entire piece, like it's right. It's very right. So, you know, there's really just nothing you can do here. But if we go back to the position I had in the game, I didn't do that. I wasn't that good at that time. I'm definitely a lot better now tactically. But you know, unfortunately, the thing about me, like how I used to be back in 2016, 17, is I literally just followed exactly what the computer wanted me to play. It didn't matter how crazy it wanted me to play. I just did that. Because I in my mind, I knew that the computer was like better than any human ever. So I figured, okay, if I just memorize and follow the chess engine, then I'll just be the greatest ever, right? Which is partly true. But unfortunately, you do have to have some chess knowledge going on, you know, for that to actually be relevant, because you do need to put your own thoughts. So I'm telling you guys, be very careful when you use a chess engine. Don't just like blindly follow everything it's telling you to do. You know, get some chess understanding under your belt, you know, read a couple of books, get some understanding. And then when you do use the chess engine, you can use it more as a tool and not just like, it's just, you know, you're just like completely following exactly everything it says, because you can actually manipulate the engine to like favor the way that you want to play and the way that you know you're supposed to play the game. And you end up getting, you know, in good positions already as well too. So that's just some advice I could give for you guys or whatever. You know, get you, you know, at least get you a couple of books in, like a little couple basic books. I'm going to start doing a book series at some point, so I can definitely show you guys some good books to use, you know, to try to get your mind, you know, correct, you know, before you jump into stuff like that, because using chess engines can be dangerous. But anyway, my move that I played in the game, which it was not a sound sacrifice, but I say that it's tall-like just simply because it was a situation where it was not so unsound, and it was forcing my opponent to play in a certain way, so that it was actually just a blunder of a piece instead of like an actual good, you know, a mortal sacrifice type whatever situation and stuff. So, I mean, a lot of sacrifices kind of depend on, you know, how your opponent, you know, how your opponent treats it. If they don't play correctly, then the sacrifice can be good. If they do play correctly, then you're just pretty much like, why did I sacrifice my piece? And I feel like feel like my camera is like blurry. Maybe it's not blurry. I'm tripping. Okay, whatever. Maybe it got better. Okay. Anyway, so bishop to c4 was the move that I played in the game. My idea behind it was I was trying to move this pawn over so that way I had the e4 square for my knights. Because as you guys can see, like I have some good squares here, but no, right now here I have some good squares here, but as I'm thinking about it, I didn't really have a good way at this point to like really get my knights in a better position. I was trying to like kind of swing them over like this or something like that, like just do something like this so I can get at this king, and you know, just kind of play on these like weak dark squares because there's no dark square bishop. So this was my idea to try to deflect the pawn away, and like I said, the computer gives like about plus like 1.5 advantage for black, which is not like a complete piece. It's about half of a piece. So it's like I said, you have to kind of play a certain way. So after bishop came to c4, pawn took c4. I got knight c to e4, knight took e4, knight took e4, knight to d7. Then I was able to get my knight into d6 with check. So it forces the king over. You know, of course, the king's not going to go this way because you're just going to be checking in. You're going to be winning the rook completely. And then you're probably going to be scooping up this pawn as well. So it's going to really like, you know, basically say that the sacrifice was legitimate. And like I said, after king to f8, we have rook to h3 from me. And then we see rook to h7. Now, the computer, you know, and like I said before, I mean, the whole thing of a sacrifice, if it's not completely sound, it needs to be one of them situations where you play aggressively and the other person kind of helps, you know, helps the piece sacrifice be legit. So the way that the computer felt like you can refute my sacrifice was actually to go knight to b6 here, you know, and then after knight takes f7, you got queen takes f7, you got rook to d8 with check, king goes to g7, queen takes on f7 with check, king takes f7, rook takes h8, king goes over to g7 attacking the rook, rook goes back to d8, and you have bishop to d7. And this is going to be forcing the trade of rooks because, I mean, you really want to get rid of one of these rooks because the rooks together are pretty strong. So the rook takes on a8, and then you see the knight takes on a8. And so you have a bishop and a knight against the rook, and you have the same amount of pawns. But this is very, very winnable by black. You know, the only penetration point is going to be here for the rook. And, you know, you can just go ahead and move pawn here, move bishop here, get on this long diagonal. You know, it's not going to be really easy for this rook. I mean, I guess you can kind of try to go here, but, you know, there's just too many targets and there's too much movability for black, and this king is going to start coming in. So, I mean, it's not looking super pretty for white in this one. But like I said, we see rook to h7. I got g4, you know, taking advantage of the fact that this pawn is pinned against this rook. We see h4, and then I see g5. I do not want g5 to be played for her because it's gonna like protect this pawn. It's gonna also attack my queen. I like my queen's position, and then also now this is making this pawn weak. So it's like I'm trying to get back some material because I gave a lot of it up. So the rook comes to h5, puts a double attack on this pawn. So I have to go rook to g1, and after king comes to g7, now I can finally snap off that pawn on h4. And then so we got rook to b8, rook takes g5, pawn takes g5, and I have queen to h4. So as you can see, you know, black is not really using all of these pieces over here. So it's kind of like I'm playing 3 pieces against, you know, kind of 2 pieces-ish in the king. So the fact that black isn't really getting their forces like, you know, like moving as fast as possible, it's making it better for me to play even though it's a piece down. So that's something you have to consider when you make a piece sacrifice as well. So like, I mean, is the person using all of their pieces? Because even though I'm down a piece, I'm still pretty much kind of using more pieces than he is. Plus, I'm going to be grabbing another pawn. And this attack that's over here is not really moving fast enough. So we got b5, but then queen takes h5. And like I said, I mean, you can see that the king is starting to get like in a mating type of net. So knight takes e5 almost has to be played just to free up black. And, you know, trying to take advantage of the fact that this knight is now undefended. But I have some, you know, some Zwischenzug in between moves to put. So I got queen to h6 with check. It forces the king up to g8. I got rook to h1, threatening mate on g8. And so they have to play, she has to play knight to g6 to protect against the mate. And then I have knight to e4. And I actually personally kind of like this move just because, you know, like, it's just threatening just pretty much mate in one. I mean, next move. I mean, there's just really not a whole lot you can do to prevent it. You know, and then you're going to be dropping the piece. And so the idea that I had way earlier in the game of like kind of playing on these two squares is actually benefiting me now. Because, you know, thankfully she didn't play the way the computer suggested, which is really hard to, even if you have a whole hour to play. So we see f5, which I wasn't intending to leave my knight there anyway. So I just went ahead and snapped on g6 with check. You know, that forced the queen in the way because, you know, of course you can't play king over because you're just going to be getting mated in one. So the queen has to cover, but that does pin the queen to the king. And so that allows me to put the check with knight to f6. It forces the king over to f8. And then I got queen to e8 and it's checkmate. Like I said, it wasn't like the best sacrifice in the world, but it also wasn't the worst. It wasn't like I just threw the piece completely away. I've definitely had worse games. I'll guarantee you next time somebody wants me to put a game up of mine, I'm going to put a game where I lost. I mean, just to keep it even. You know, like I said, I think it's a little bit weird to even, you know, analyze your own games. I kind of feel weird doing it, but, you know, I had a lot of people asking me to put my own game up here. So I was like, hey, cool. You know, I'll pop a little game up there real quick. So but like I said, I mean, I kind of liked the game that I played a little bit. I thought it was cool. I liked the way I followed up. And like I said before, there was a chess master that I played in tournaments with, and he actually wanted me to send him this game because he coached students. So he wanted to use this as like an attack type of situation. He was going to say, don't do the sacrifice, but, you know, this is how you follow up an attack type situation. So it was kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. But I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I will see you guys next time. All right.